A few days ago, I had the pleasure of watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and guys, I couldn't wait to talk about it because this movie was absolutely fantastic. Marvel is officially back. This movie alone actually got me really hyped up. That, and along with all the other announcements like the Russo brothers are coming back, the writer of Infinity War is coming back for Avengers, and Deadpool was the first Marvel movie in a little while that made me sit back and go, okay, that was amazing. We're going to talk about the entirety of Deadpool and Wolverine because I loved this movie. We're going to talk about what I liked about it, if there's anything that I didn't like about it, which off the top of my head, there's nothing that I didn't like about it, but regardless, spoilers are ahead. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. So we start off with Deadpool, and he's time traveling into a new universe, and the beginning of it actually confused me a little bit because we know that he got Cable's time travel device, but I don't know if he just went to a different reality or if he somehow saved his girlfriend, because of course we have everybody sitting at a table, everybody's having a party, everybody's enjoying themselves, and I was kind of sitting here like, okay, this is a little bit strange, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was going to be one of those rewind situations that they did in the past two Deadpool movies, and something that I actually forgot to mention was this was my favorite Deadpool movie. I liked this one, and then Deadpool 2, and then the first Deadpool. I really enjoyed them all, but we see that Deadpool eventually time travels again, and we have the first cameo, that being Happy Hogan. We have a very funny conversation with him just calling him a taxi driver, and he wants to join the Avengers. He wants to matter. And then the confusion, at least on my end, continues because we find out that years down the road, Wade has broken up with Vanessa, and he's now a salesman with Peter, who is going to... I don't know if Peter's a comic book character, but Peter ends up playing a big part in the newer movie. So the beginning confused me, but of course, the rest of the movie, in my opinion, made sense. It was just the beginning, and I haven't watched any breakdown videos on it, or anything that's explaining it to me, but maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe that doesn't need to be explained. Maybe it's just something that I missed. After all, I did only see the movie one time, but I was watching intently. I don't know, man. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, Wade is then having his birthday party, and he ends up getting captured by the TVA, and I really like that they're connecting Loki with it, but I also like, for the people who didn't watch Loki, they kind of introduce themselves. Wade says some really funny lines, and honestly, throughout this entire movie, I was laughing through a good majority of it, and typically this isn't really my style of humor. I really enjoy dark humor, like digging up Wolverine's grave after the death was so funny to me, but I'm talking about just like swearing, the sex jokes. That's not typically up my alley, but I go in understanding what Deadpool is, so I kind of like surround myself in that environment, if that makes sense, so I'm more open to laughing about that stuff, and like most things hit for me. Like even when he was encountering the TVA and he's talking about like getting pegged, like I thought that was funny, and typically I wouldn't really find all this stuff funny. Yeah, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying there. So he ends up being captured, he's brought to Paradox, and if I'm not mistaken, the only thing that I didn't like about this movie was Paradox. I didn't find him funny, and I understand that I just said most of the jokes in the movie hit. I meant like most of the jokes. I was laughing through the whole movie, and even like, here's the thing, like I didn't like Paradox, everything that he said, his mannerisms, none of that was funny, but then when Deadpool was talking to Paradox, I did find that funny. Does that make sense? So that's the only thing that I personally didn't find funny about the movie. I don't know if anybody felt any differently. Like even the worker that was below the little bridge that they were on, and Deadpool was kind of convincing like, yeah, I know you love me. Like that stuff was hilarious to me. So Paradox ends up explaining to Deadpool because he is very important in future events. He offered to save him from this timeline that is deteriorating because of the anchor of the timeline, that being Logan. The story is a little bit strange. Yeah, but it's Deadpool. They don't really need some big reasoning for it. I don't know why Logan is the timeline's anchor. So he offers Deadpool to do a mission, or because what he wants to do is take away the timeline. He wants to build this new device, and they call it the Rippler. I believe that's what it was. I have my notes on my screen over here, but okay, I didn't write it down. The Rippler, the Time Rippler, was going to speed up the deterioration of Deadpool's timeline because the Paradox is looking for a promotion. He doesn't want to wait for it to just fizzle out naturally. He wants to just straight up destroy the timeline, because I think he said that would take thousands of years. But anyways, he was offered to spare Wade by sending him to what's called the Sacred Timeline, because again, he plays an important role there. Deadpool ends up accepting the mission, even though that he doesn't want to kill any of his friends. And we have this hilarious moment because we see Deadpool in these alternate timelines, and he's where Loki died, and Thor's looking at him, and it's Deadpool, and he's like, what is Thor doing? Why am I important for Thor? And it's really like, that stuff was really funny to me. they have this funny changing scene where they keep spanking Deadpool. My wife was laughing so hard throughout that part. I don't know, like, I thought it was funny, but I mean, like, every single time, like, he was spanked, and my wife was like all giddy in the seat next to me, and it was just really fun to see. Like, she enjoyed the movie too. That and the intro, she was laughing at like crazy. So I spent a little bit of time just like watching the big screen, and then looking at my wife, who was like really laughing at like this weird thing that's going on. So I enjoyed that. But anyways, Deadpool then steals the time travel device, travels to Logan's grave, and this is where the movie really begins. In my opinion, this is one of the greatest intros in a little while. For days, I think I watched this movie 3 days ago. At least 2 days, I was still singing bye, bye, bye. Like, it was perfect the way they did it. Digging up Logan's grave, and it's so funny to me, and this is where the dark humor comes in that I really enjoy. Logan had such a heroic, awesome death. Like, he was so serious. He's such a serious character. Everything about Logan is not joking whatsoever, right? And that was heartbreaking to watch Logan die. And then we cut to Deadpool, and he's digging up Logan's grave, and then he's like giving the commentary, breaking the fourth wall. He's like, yeah, I'm here just digging up Logan's grave, and you must be asking, hey, why? And I like the fact that they were so honest about it, not needing this entirely mega deep storyline. And that's why it worked. Only Deadpool could get away with that, right? I liked the bye, him beating up the TV agents, him figuring out to use Wolverine's claws. He's all happy about it. It's just completely dishonoring his grave, and that's the funniest part to me. And then we're brought to another scene where, because of course Wolverine's dead, he's just a skeleton, then he used all of his body parts to fight against the TV agents. He ended up going to many different timelines, visiting many different Logans, seeing which one he can bring back to the sacred timeline. And there was probably quite a bit that I missed over here, and the one that I didn't know about, I saw a few Easter eggs after I watched the movie, and I didn't know that Henry Cavill was apparently like a big fan art thing. So there were some like cameos and jokes that just kind of like went completely over my head, but still, for the most part, I thought it was funny. I loved the height joke. All of that was honestly really great to me. So we're continuing, looking at different Wolverines, fighting different Wolverines, and Wade finds what is supposed to be the worst Wolverine, because I don't remember exactly what it was, but he didn't show up when he was needed or something along those lines. Maybe I'll remember it down the road, but it doesn't matter. He is the worst Wolverine. He brings him back to the TVA, and he's like, hey, here we go. And Paradox just tells him you cannot just replace an anchor in the timeline. And then Wade ends up figuring out that Paradox is acting without his superiors, so they get into a little bit of a fight there, but what Paradox ends up doing is sending them into the Void. And I really like that we got to see the Void again. I haven't made a video on Loki, which honestly I should, but I loved the Loki series, and I loved the idea of the Void. And I was kind of hoping that we would see some of the Loki variants that we saw in Loki over there, but I love the idea that the Void was such a big part of this, to be honest with you. I just enjoyed what they did this whole time. Like, again, the writing's so strange, and just, hey, here's another Logan from a different multiverse. Let's drag him here. We just went through any of them. Like, Deadpool's the only one that could get away with that. And of course, in the Void, you have this big monster, and this is kind of like the garbage disposal of the multiverse, where all things end up consumed by that giant beast in the sky, the Cloud Beast. And it was really cool. Like, I always find that creature pretty cool because it adds some like tense feelings into the world that they're in. I just really enjoyed it, right? And I liked visiting it again. So Deadpool's honest about everything. Him and Logan start arguing, and then Deadpool says something along the lines of, all right, let's give the people what they came for. And it was a really cool fight scene. And it was very brutal, shooting each other, clawing each other. You have two guys that are constantly regenerating. And the fight scene was pretty cool in itself. But my favorite part of the movie, besides the intro, like, well, no, this was funnier than the intro to me, but sorry. The intro and this part were my two favorite parts. We end up figuring out that the Human Torch comes up, but we don't think he's the Human Torch. Now, I watched a couple Easter egg things. I said, okay. I didn't know if it was alluded that the Human Torch was Chris Evans when he showed up as Chris Evans. Like, I didn't know if it was we were supposed to know that it's a Human Torch and supposed to know it's a cameo. I'll tell you how I saw it and why it was even funnier if that wasn't the case. Because we figured out they're playing the solid Avengers music, right? And Captain America shows up. I'm like, what? But because it's Deadpool, like, if they did this in any other movie, I would hate it. I would think it's dumb. But it's dumb in the best way possible for Deadpool, right? Because all the cameos, all the different multiverses, the things that they could do over here. I love what they chose as the Human Torch. So they end up getting captured by this group. And before that, I keep almost saying Captain America. Chris Evans walks up and he's like, he's ready to get into battle. Like the Avengers music is playing. It looks like that he's going to say Avengers Assemble. Okay. And Deadpool's even like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it. Dude, I had no idea that they were going to change that. And I actually like, I don't laugh out loud very much in movies. It's just not the type of person who I am. Like, you'll kind of get like a out of me. Like, I'll find it really funny. I'm not like a like laugh out loud person at the movies. Okay. I laughed out loud when all of a sudden I heard Flame On and Deadpool's like, what the fuck? And he just immediately turns into the Human Torch and flies away. That was actually probably one of the best jokes in the entirety of the MCU for me. I haven't laughed out loud that much in the movies in a little while. But it gets better because that's not where it ended, okay? And there's another part that I'm thinking of that I forgot that I laughed at just as much, and it was the part with Nice Pool, okay? That was really, really funny, but we're going to talk about that, of course. But I loved that they kept Chris Evans around. The Human Torch just kind of stayed here. So they're on this little bit of a journey. They have a conversation that we don't know about until the end credits. And they're brought into this character named Cassandra, who is Xavier's twin sister. And she is like a much more sadistic version of Xavier. So what Xavier can do, she can kind of do the same thing, but she needs to touch people to do it. I don't know. I would imagine this is a comic book character. Like, they didn't just make it up for the MCU. I don't think that they do that. But regardless, I wasn't familiar with her. She is extremely powerful. She can do anything to anybody, and she runs the entire Void. Like, I think that they said she struck a deal or something like that. She was in talks with Paradox or something like that to just kind of maintain her power in the Void. But regardless, she is the big baddie. Nobody can do anything with her. She comes up, and of course, they're joking around, right? And she literally skins Chris Evans. And Deadpool goes up to her and she's like, he said this about you and this and this. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was long, ridiculous, and incredibly insulting over to Cassandra. And I was like, oh, that's like, I was laughing again. Like, this movie had me cracking up in the movie theater, dude. And she just looks at him and goes, just all of his skin off, like the most ruthless death he could do. And Logan's looking at him like, great, you just got him killed. And then Deadpool's like, he did say that, right? And then we figure out at the end of the credits that he actually did say all that. So the movie made you think, of course, that Deadpool just made all of that up to make Chris Evans die for some reason. Love the entire part with Chris Evans. That was hilarious to me. And after some more jokes, I don't remember if they fought at that moment, but regardless, that entire scene ends with Wade and Logan exiting in a TVA portal and still traveling throughout the multiverse. Logan and Wade then encounter a different version of Deadpool, and I don't remember if this one was specifically Nice Pool, but regardless, they ended up getting the Honda Odyssey. And it's so funny because I have a joke in my own friend group because my dad's car is a Honda Odyssey, and it's just like, it lasted the test of time. We've just been joking about it for a long time. Actually, you want to hear something crazy? We had a sticker of the Queen on my dad's car. I don't know why or where it came from. I think it was a joke that somebody put it on the car and it was left there. I have no reason to lie about this, okay? I'm telling the 100% truth. My brother decided, because he was driving the van for a long time, to take off the sticker of the Queen, and the Queen died the next day. Crazy. I know that has nothing to do with the movie, but I always think about the Honda Odyssey, so it's like become even more of a joke. So, anyways, Logan and Wade end up fighting each other in the car because they start talking about the timeline and how it actually can't be fixed, and Logan's just angry. Deadpool is just retaliating, joking. They end up having this insane fight, leaving them both unconscious. And while these two are unconscious, they are found by some Cassandra Resistance group members, and that being Laura, which is crazy to see because Laura's actually grown up now, and I thought that was really, really weird. It was not uncomfortable, but like, it wasn't a joke that she found Logan again, but she kind of understood the entire thing. She knew that that wasn't the Logan, that was her dad. Very, very weird how that entire thing worked. And we also have Elektra, Blade, and Gambit. All of those jokes, until I saw some Easter eggs, went over my head. For example, the one being like Channing Tatum was supposed to be Gambit for a very long time. Things like that. Things like Blade and Ryan Reynolds not liking each other. And there was a joke in there, something like, oh, well, you never did like me anyways. All of that went over my head. And I didn't know that, crap, what's the actor's name of Elektra? The 13 going on 30 girl? I didn't even know she was a superhero. Regardless, it was nice to see, like, knowing all of this information coming in, it was nice to see that they kind of got their time to shine. Laura ends up having a conversation with Logan after Logan didn't want to go and battle against Cassandra because he's depressed. He is the worst Wolverine. He gave up on his timeline. They have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, but the heart-to-heart is kind of, like, strange with the tone of the movie. And the fact that those two are talking after the way the movie ended. I don't know. I just thought that was, I don't think that hit emotionally the way that it was supposed to for me. I was still kind of like, haha, Deadpool funny kind of thing. But to be honest with you, there isn't a ton to mention about this entire thing because, again, a lot of those jokes went over my head personally, but I still found it incredibly entertaining because when they walked out, I was like, Channing Tatum? What the heck? And I didn't really know who Gambit was. I didn't know who Elektra was, and the only one that I knew was Laura, so that was cool to see, and she played a really, really good part in Logan, so I was totally okay with that. It was still really entertaining to me, but there isn't a ton to say because they end up traveling, they end up fighting Cassandra. Cassandra ends up going into Wolverine's head and seeing kind of, and I thought the scenery there was beautiful, by the way they did that. The way that he's walking through all these giant graves ends up being a little bit of a trick. They get Juggernaut's helmet and put it on Cassandra, but they end up reaching a little bit of agreement and an alliance. The fight was cool. The way Cassandra fights is really cool. I liked Cassandra as a villain. I liked her because she was in Deadpool specifically. She was really menacing. She was cool. She was powerful. And the jokes were landing because it was in Deadpool. If this character was just in the MCU hanging out and being as sarcastic as she was, I wouldn't have liked it. And it was so uncomfortable watching her fingers go inside people's face. I just thought she was a cool villain. And she did the job, right? They end up coming to an agreement. She ends up sending him to a different version of Earth, and that's the one that has a timeline deteriorating. So they figured out that Paradox has finished his machine. And this is where we're almost at the other part that I think was just as funny as Captain America and the intro of Deadpool. So Cassandra ends up figuring out Paradox's plan because she reads his mind and she just gets all the knowledge of the Time Rippler, and she wants to destroy all of realities because she is completely powerful in the void, and she will in turn be the most powerful villain probably in existence. So of course, because Wolverine and Deadpool are trying to stop Cassandra and trying to stop Paradox, the Time Rippler, she summons, like, I don't even know how many, hundreds of variants of Deadpool to fight against him, one of them being Nicepool again, right? So this is the funniest part to me. They're all shooting at everybody. They're all shooting at Nicepool, and it was the dog that came. The dog was super cute. And so I don't know why, like, Nicepool was the only one that didn't regenerate. So he got shot a bunch of times, and Deadpool's like, it's just over there. We'll be okay. Everything will be okay. I'll protect you. And then he, like, holds his body and gets shot, like, so many times. And then when he dies, and it's actually this, like, a little bit of a sad death, but it's still more comedic, right? Deadpool says something along the lines of, like, oh man, he was awesome. The only way I'll remember him are these 2 gold pistols. I didn't see the pistols because my wife said that she knew that the second that Deadpool saw them, he was going to take them. I must have missed that part, but that was really, really funny to me. So Deadpool got his pistols, and then all of the variants of Deadpool start fighting, and it's just this really fun scene. We're through the bus. It's all blood. It's all gore. Deadpool and Wolverine have this, like, really, really cool moment where they're taking on all of the other Deadpools. I actually sat back in this movie at this moment, and I was really enjoying the moment, don't get me wrong, but I was thinking, like, when did murder become funny? I don't know when that happened. I don't know, because this movie was so gory. Like, I was even just watching The Boys, and when Homelander, then I understand that there's a lot of parts where Homelander didn't do something that was funny, but where somebody spoke to Homelander and just went bzzz with the eyes and just straight up killed somebody brutally. Like, why are these things funny now? When did that happen? So Deadpool and Wolverine were killing everybody and it was really funny, but they end up regenerating, and this is where Peter rolls in. For some reason, everybody listens to Peter. Everybody likes Peter. Wolverine and Deadpool leave after that moment. Very funny, very cool. Very action heavy. As they're moving, though, of course, they run into Paradox again, and Paradox tells Wade and Logan that one of them could destroy the Time Rippler by disrupting its power flow, going in there and getting in the way of everything. And he does tell them that, hey, doing so, you will absolutely die. I don't care how much you regenerate, you're done. Wolverine and Deadpool then have this moment where it's supposed to be really heartfelt. Like, don't get me wrong, I've sacrificed everything. Logan looks at him and goes, give me this. I screwed everything up. They kind of set that up. But again, the emotional moment didn't hit for me. I was still in my wacky, fun Deadpool part, right? So they end up going in together after fighting each other to be the one to self-sacrifice. They have this cool scene. They break in. Wolverine comes in at the last second. Deadpool kind of bamboozled Wolverine, tricked him into being the one to sacrifice. They're holding hands. They disrupt the flow. It explodes. Cassandra gets killed. The Time Rippler is no more. And they just show up again. Well, one of us can't regenerate that much, but 2 of us can. Deadpool humor. That's why it works. If it happened in any other MCU movie, I think that was ridiculous. But anyways, that one actor, the name is escaping me at the moment. The one, I don't even know her actor name. The lady from the TVA comes in and arrests Paradox. Don't know where they were the whole time, but doesn't matter. It's Deadpool, right? And with the action that Deadpool and Logan took, they saved Earth's timeline from deteriorating. It's all regenerating. Don't know how, but that's pretty much where the movie ends. And the movie ends up ending with Wolverine feeling a little bit more like a hero, and Wolverine ends up joining Deadpool back at the table with all of his friends. And the only thing that I wish about this movie is we saw a little bit more of Deadpool's friends, but I understand this is Deadpool Wolverine. I just like the taxi driver. I like the Coke mom. I liked all of it. And plus, the Coke joke was funny throughout the entire thing. Like, they can't do Coke where it's like, hey, Disney said that everything's okay except Coke. Like, they just kept mentioning it as much as possible without ever actually showing them high or anything. That's what man, it was really smart. And something that I didn't even mention is there were all these jokes, too, throughout it, where it's like, hey, welcome to the MCU. You're here at a bit of a low point, but that's okay. Like, I like that they were honest about all of that. And don't you get tired of this multiverse stuff? It never hits. Like, the movie was so self-aware, didn't take itself seriously, and that's why it was so great. Like I said, though, the movie ends with a family gathering or a friend gathering with everybody at the table, and Wolverine tells Deadpool to talk to Vanessa and reconciles their relationship a little bit because she held his hand. Deadpool, I don't remember exactly what Deadpool said to her, but they ended up bonding again. Deadpool gets his girlfriend back. Weird thing, and this is what at the beginning of the movie, like, I didn't understand. Is this an alternate timeline, or is she actually saved from dying? I know they broke up, but I don't understand that whole thing. If this is a different alternate timeline, Vanessa, I'm thinking about this from my own perspective. If my wife died and I saw the same person, I get it's the same person from an alternate reality, I would never be able to have that same person. I wouldn't look at her the same. She'd be a little bit, I'd know her, but she would be foreign to me at the same time, and I wouldn't feel right. My real wife is dead, and I'm just getting a copy of her. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. But if he used Cable's device to go back in time and save her from dying, which I think that he did, I don't know about you guys, but that wasn't clear to me. Then everything's okay, so he's all living happily ever after. But I also like the idea of her dying, and that kind of motivated Deadpool at the same time. It doesn't matter. Little nitpick I have with the movie. It's not even a nitpick, I just saw something that I didn't understand. Regardless, this movie was phenomenal. I think I might give it a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It's the best thing to come out of Marvel from a long time. And what I really, really hope happens is they decide to introduce Deadpool into like the actual MCU storyline, especially with Secret Wars and Doomsday. I want to see Deadpool interact with more characters because him interacting with such a serious character in Wolverine was amazing and hilarious to see. I would love to see Deadpool with specifically Spider-Man. If they make a movie with Deadpool and Spider-Man, you know what? I'd totally be okay with just Deadpool and blank. Just keep making Deadpool movies where Deadpool just travels throughout the multiverse. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't even have to be a concise story. It's Deadpool, it's ridiculous, and it always works, no matter what you do. Hey, Spider-Man, I need you because Vanessa's dying. Like, he just grabs Spider-Man, and because it's Deadpool, that would work. If he ripped Spider-Man out of his own timeline, that could work. Or even if you want to go in, hey, timeline, let's bring in Andrew Garfield back. I think all of that could work. And I hope that we get those interactions. I would love to see Spider-Man specifically. And I hope they actually bring Deadpool, even if it's just for a little bit, in the actual Avengers. Because they need someone like Deadpool right now. Because who do they have? Red Hulk has potential. Spider-Man is really the only really, really cool one. I love Shang-Chi as well. But anybody else isn't hitting the mark the same as the other Avengers. And Deadpool would absolutely hit that mark for me. The Fantastic Four also has potential, but I'm not going to bank on that. You're missing your classic heroes that everyone loves. You're missing your Thor. Well, I mean, Thor's still around, right? But as we don't really know what's going on with Chris Hemsworth. Regardless, Deadpool needs to be a permanent part of the MCU and intertwined with those stories, not just doing his own side project. His own side project is great, and I would love to see more Deadpool movies because they're easy to write. You don't need a strong storyline for them. I just hope we continue to see Deadpool. This was by far my favorite Deadpool movie. I laughed pretty well the entire time. I liked all of the characters pretty well. I liked the story. I liked everything they did. I didn't even touch on the vast majority of the jokes, and a lot of jokes went over my head. Let me know what you thought about Deadpool and Wolverine in the comment section down below. Thank you for being here. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you guys are interested, I have my reaction and kind of like Twitter's reaction, and we're going to react to people reacting in the sense, like, taking a look at what people are just saying about Robert Downey Jr. being Doctor Doom, and I give my own opinion on that. Sorry, I know that was a long outro, but you can find that video right here, guys. I will see you over there or in the next video. Take care.